Emportés par la foule qui nous traîne, nous entraîne, écrasés l'un contre l'autre, nous ne formons qu'un seul corps. Et le flot sans effort nous pousse enchaîner l'un et l'autre, et nous laisse tous deux épanouis, enivrés et heureux. Entraînés par la foule qui s'élance et qui danse une folle farandole, nos deux mains restent soudées.
Never build a SaaS like this. I was one prompt away from killing the entire project. If you actually watched the videos before, you really saw my journey starting this whole project. A very messy code, a rough design, and me really arguing with LLMs and vibe coding tools like they had actual beef against me. And I totally agree, I should have documented much more, but I didn't, and it's not because I didn't care, it's actually because I cared too much. The thing is that I'm a full-time student, so I don't have the free will to work 12-hour days on my SaaS project. So when I actually had the time to work on it, I prefer giving it my all instead of maybe losing a bit of time documenting it. And I still think this is actually a big mistake that I made. And in that tunnel where I worked very hard, I actually nearly hit a wall that nearly ended this whole project. Today I'm actually breaking down what broke, why it broke, and how rebuilding actually this whole SaaS turned to be something I'm really proud of, and actually something I'm not scared at all to charge a monthly subscription for. So let's rewind a little bit. In the first two episodes, this wasn't really a SaaS. It was a project with a lot of ambition. The idea sounded quite simple, but it was really brutal in practice. Basically, the idea was that the system sends prompts to multiple LLM, analyzes the response, and actually provides insight and recommendation based on the prompt received and analyzed. In the first video, I was actually more trying to make multiple LLMs work together without frying my whole brain. Different APIs, different limits, different response formats. I felt like I was trying to get 6 people speaking 6 different languages to agree on one single sentence. In the second video, I mainly focused on one problem, one big value aspect of my SaaS is the optimization. Our system can create content recommendation based on the prompts that are not mentioning your company. Back then, the feature didn't work, then we made it, let's say, barely work. Now, this is completely solved and it works 100%. But getting there was not clean and definitely not linear at all. But to be honest, here's the part I didn't really want to talk about. And if you watched the first videos, you probably could have noticed it. It didn't look like a real SaaS. It looked like a project, a side thing, something you try for free and then forget. And to be honest, that terrified me. Because even if the backend logic was serious, one truth kept coming back. People don't pay serious amount of money for something that looks unserious. And to be honest, I really didn't see myself confidently selling this SaaS that I built in the first 2 videos. And if I didn't believe in it, why would anyone else? Then right after this came a second realization. There just wasn't enough value for user. The analytics were weak, the insights were shallow, the subscription price really didn't match what the user was getting back. And then came the final punch. This is where everything collapsed. The whole system was built around sending and analyzing prompts every day. And this worked well, to be honest, but only if users behaved nicely. Let me explain better. I switched my test users from the Pro plan to the Business plan, which is the highest plan you can get on Visible AI. This plan allows users to activate up to 40 prompts and to choose up to 6 LLM, which I did for this user, which means that every day 240 prompts are being sent and analyzed per day per user. So after doing this, I ran the execution and then I just stared at my screen. Nothing worked. Everything was completely broken. The system wasn't built for that, not even close at all. And that was with only one user. Now imagine multiple businesses doing this every day, which I remind you is the goal of having a SaaS. I want more than just one user. So it was weeks of work and the system couldn't even support its own pricing plan for one user. But I didn't quit. Barely, but I did. What I did is I actually asked Lovable and Cursor to each write me a very detailed plan on how the whole system worked, what was involved, what did everything do, what this function is supposed to do, what it wants to achieve, everything. And I dumped it into ChatGPT, and then I started brainstorming architectures, queue, loads, failures, cost, every single thing possible. And keep in mind, I don't understand any of this. I'm not technical at all. I'm in a business school. And after hours of prompting my way into OpenAI, is actually when it clicked. This isn't like a bug or a failure. This is a whole architecture problem. Our system doesn't work at scale. And so instead of trying to patch it, I actually made the decision to rebuild the entire core of the SaaS. And mark my words, this wasn't just a little facelift. This was a huge pivot of everything. Before, Visible AI executed AI requests directly and synchronously. That means that when a user launched a request, everything ran immediately. All AI calls were tied to the same request lifecycle, and if one of the LLM provider was slow, everything was slowed down, and long-running jobs caused timeouts and deadlocks. So basically, this means that one single business user could break the whole system. It was fragile, not scalable, and more importantly, not production safe. Now the biggest change made is that everything is running through a queue-based system, which means that now every AI task is sent to a queue and background workers process each task independently. And this basically means that we can now handle thousands of users at the same time. So that single change, which seems quite easy but it's not, turned the whole SaaS from fragile to scalable. Now let me tell you a little bit more about the moment I knew it was time to launch. It was a few days ago when I opened my test user dashboard and I just stared at it. And everything worked, not in a demo way, but in an actual real SaaS way. The kind of working where I could actually imagine real companies using this every day without me watching. And for the first time, I wasn't scared of having someone pay for this. And that's really the moment I knew. Not when I shipped a new feature, not when code compiled, but when I didn't feel embarrassed of charging for what I built. The first version of what we're trying to build will lie to you. It will survive just enough to give you hopes, but not enough to survive reality. And that's completely normal. And the main mistake is not building something that's not perfect. The mistake is pretending it's finished. Scaling problems don't really come announced. They wait until you're really confident about what you have built, and then they just punch you in the face. I also learned that sometimes stopping to actually think is much better than just getting on Lovable and Cursor and say, fix this problem, fix this problem, fix this problem. And let me tell you, rebuilding something is not a failure, it's the opposite. Because when you're rebuilding, it's probably the first time that you're building what you want in the right way.